Welcome back to my series, and pole dancing. Today we'll be exploring the topic of age and pole dancing. Let's talk about young people, aka kids, in the world of pole dancing. Before we begin, I'm going to present you with a huge grain of salt. In fact, just take the whole pink Himalayan sea salt grinder. I don't teach kids, work with kids, or raise kids. I don't have any of my own, and I don't plan on having any. So if at any point during this video you're like, this lady has no idea what she's talking about when it comes to kids, you may be right. And I'm not going to tell you at any point how to feel about the idea of children in your life taking up pole dancing. But let's explore the concept of it. In 2018, a principal in China was fired after hiring a pole dancer to welcome kindergartners back to school with a performance on the outdoor flagpole. There was a pretty massive uproar, and obviously the news story made it all the way to people in America and beyond. So we know people are scandalized when pole dancing is performed for young eyes. But what about when young people are the ones doing the pole dancing? First, let's ask, how kid-friendly are aerial arts in general? Most aerial studios offer kids classes for ages 6 to 12, and I've even seen some offer Mommy and Me classes that allow kids as young as 3 years old to participate. However, the real youngsters are always accompanied by a parent and only using aerial silks or hammock, usually sitting in them like a swing or swishing them around like a parachute. Most often, you will find that kids' aerial classes are either a mix of multiple apparatuses, more like an aerial open gym fun time, or trapeze, lyra, which is aerial hoop, or silks only. You remember being a kid, right? And swinging from the monkey bars or scrambling up trees like it was nothing. Those skills can translate nicely to aerial arts. You would be amazed how quickly kids can figure out how to flip themselves upside down when it takes adults like me months and months of practice to learn how to engage those muscles properly. And kids are fearless. They often want to go up as high as possible and drop as fast as possible, giggling the whole time like they didn't just do something that makes us mere mortals tremble in fear. There are inherent dangers to bringing children into an aerial space. Pressure to increase class size might mean that little Jimmy is unsupervised while he's climbing up way too high.
Oh my God! Oh jeez, oh my God!
Kids' brains can't retain complicated instructions as clearly as grown brains can. And kids have a tendency to swing on apparatuses, especially things like trapeze, which can upset the center of balance and mess with the rigging. So, kids in aerial arts, generally a pretty good fit. Kids in pole dancing? Let's talk some more about that. I think the immediate presumption some people hold is that a kid's pole class is going to exactly mimic an adult's pole class. The lights are low, the heels are high, the music is sexy, the outfits are tiny. No, no one is teaching a youth pole class that looks like that. Kids' pole classes, like any other aerial classes, are brightly lit, adult-supervised, age-appropriate, and challenging. But I think we think letting your child take pole classes is akin to something like entering your child in a child beauty pageant, a la Toddlers and Tiaras. Shows like Toddlers and Tiaras provoke a visceral reaction within us because it instinctually freaks us out to see a 3-year-old with a spray tan and veneers with those fake press-on nails and highlight and contour because she's being made to look so much older than her age. Pole dancing isn't about asking kids to look older than their age or do anything that is above what is appropriate for their age level. Did you know? The American Pole League allows for competitors as young as ages 6 to 9 years old in their pre-novice mixed category. When I was 6 years old, I ran into the coffee table while dancing to Cher and cried for an hour. Here's a morning show feature about pole dancing kids. We have 3 girls, ages 8 to 11, wearing tied-up shirts and shorts, their instructor, their mothers, the hosts, and a very brief cutaway to child psychologist Emma Kenny, who calls the whole thing
is horrendous. One thing I just want to say, we've just got to clear this up because this is what you say, it's pole fitness, not pole dancing.
Yeah. One of the first things we should take note of, the hosts made the instructor clarify that she's teaching the girls pole fitness, not pole dancing. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know how I feel about that. Strippers created pole dancing as we know it today, and yet some of us want to come in with our good, clean morals and insist that it's not stripping, it's fitness. I argue we don't need to make that distinction. I shouldn't be offended that someone thinks I'm a stripper because I'm doing the sport that strippers made popular in the West. But I do understand why parents would want and need to hear that distinction. And no, this is not me shaming you for not wanting people to think your 8-year-old is a stripper. Although, If your little child wanted to take modern dance or jazz dance or just dance, you probably wouldn't have an issue with that, would you? And changing pole dance to pole fitness doesn't remove the word pole, which doesn't it seem like that's the one word we're having a problem with here? I've said it before, nobody batted an eye when I was doing silks outside for the whole neighborhood to see, but as soon as I put my pole up in my house, all the comments came flooding in. Would there be a morning talk show segment if these girls wanted to do silks? I don't think so. So let's keep watching. Each girl is given a chance to do a couple of moves. We've got a kick up into an inversion, a couple of spins, and an almost butterfly. The girls dutifully take their turns and head back into the line while generic pop music plays in the background. Then the hosts begin to interview the mothers, who refer to their daughters trying lots of other activities in the past, like competitive gymnastics or normal dance classes, and this is the one thing they're really passionate about. Have to ask, if this was a group of little boys, would they be featured on a morning talk show with a blip of a child psychologist calling it horrendous? And yes, I keep calling it a blip because that's literally the only thing we hear from the child psychologist on this segment. We can assume the boys would probably not wear shirts at all, so they'd be less clothed than the girls, and they would probably be doing similar moves if they were in a similar level class. Would some talk show hosts be asking their mothers, what do people think about this? This is when we have to get into the really uncomfortable part of this discussion. Are you the problem or a creep if you think there's something wrong with children pole dancing? Yes and no. If you looked at that performance from the morning talk show and saw something sexual, I invite you to turn your calendar from 1965 to 2021. But then again, if it makes you uncomfortable to think of that being your own child in a crop top showing off a pole spin move on national television, I can't fault you for that. We know pole is a sexualized sport. Is being worried that your child is going to be sexualized while participating in a sexualized sport something malicious, or you projecting onto them, or you being a creep? I wish I could say, if you think anything a child is doing is sexual, then you're the weirdo. But that's a pretty naive statement, and the world is a scary place. Kids don't have the mental capacity or real-world experience to see things from all the different angles like an adult can, and it is our responsibility to protect them. Let's look at another perspective. A blog post from Dushko International called "My 12-year-old daughter wants to take pole dancing classes" states, "If your young daughter wants to take a pole fitness class, you shouldn't be too perturbed by it. As crazy as it may sound right now, especially for all the dads out there, parents in Britain and Australia are ditching more conventional hobbies like pony club and ballet and are instead getting their kids into pole fitness." Weird little parenthetical aside about dads especially finding this concept crazy. But we all know that our fathers are the moral protectors of our sexuality, and we mustn't upset Papa. The article continues. "What we're trying to establish here is that pole dance fitness isn't just for adults, nor does it have to be synonymous with a controversial living. Modern culture has made it out to be this way. Pole dancing classes for children have been defended by many following claims that it sexualizes youngsters. It's a fitness class, simple as that. Think about gymnastics for children. What's the difference? Our perception." We can also compare the clothing that each sport requires. Is pole clothing really more revealing than, say, a gymnastics leotard or a swimsuit? When we put a kid in the pool, we don't shame them for being minimally clothed because we know that outfit suits the situation. The post then lists the benefits of taking up pole dancing for kids, like improved cardio and stronger joints and bones. A blog post from the Pole Project discusses similar benefits, including pole fitness can match athletic training when it comes to strength, flexibility, discipline, and endurance. It can improve motor skills, including balance, coordination, and spatial awareness. They compare it to structured park play, something like taking your kid to the park and letting them hang on and swing from all the playground equipment, which is pretty much what I mentioned earlier. Kids can and do excel at pole dancing, just like some kids are great at gymnastics, putting on puppet shows, singing, drawing, playing competitive chess, etc. Kids find what they love and they throw their whole selves into it. I can't tell you it's wrong to be uncomfortable with the idea of your child wanting to pole dance. If your child asks you for pole dancing lessons and you feel very strongly about it, I recommend that you enroll them in Silks or Lyra so they can build up some aerial experience before they can get started on the pole. Or encourage them to get into flexibility and strength training, which will give them a great foundation for when they can start their pole journey. Now let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. How about people who are considered old? I found a blog post from Laura Whitwer called "How Old Is That in Circus Years? The Truth About Aging and Circus," and she writes, "At the ripe old age of 24, you can't see me right now, but I'm snickering in a very snarky way, I decided to run away and join the circus. Among the many sensitive and caring questions I got from friends and family was, 'Aren't you a little too old for that?' Yes, it goes without saying. The older you get, the higher your risk for injury and the greater time it takes to recover from said injuries. There's also the fact that flexibility and bone density wane as we age, making circus tricks harder to pull off. And it's not just because circus is hard on your mind and body, and that constantly trying to catch up to those incredibly flexible Russian infant gymnasts while every day your back is in constant pain is like a total pipe dream, but because pole, specifically, comes with it the idea that this activity is sexy. And we don't like older people, especially women, being sexy. Here's a Hollywood example that also unfortunately plays out in real life. When she was 37, Maggie Gyllenhaal was told she was too old to play the love interest for a 55-year-old man. Too old, while also being 18 years younger. That's a whole adult person of age difference. There's also this excellent chart that shows that Leonardo DiCaprio has never kept a girlfriend above the age of 25, even as he advances past that age day by unstoppable day.
That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age.
Yes, they do. Yes.
It's not just celebrities, but the whole of Western society that puts an expiration date on women's attractiveness. And assuming, of course, that pole dancing is only done to be attractive and sexy, we feel grossed out or strange when an older person does it. As a blog post titled, "Am I Too Old to Pole Dance?" puts it, for many women, aging is seen as the death sentence for their sexuality. And actually, I have to include the whole quote because it's too darn good. Once you have passed a certain age, suddenly you are meant to become this sexless husk whose only purpose is to stand in as a wise, wrinkled, amorphous blob who occasionally sighs at old photos and talks about how beautiful I used to be back in the war. Now you've heard my point about pole dancing not having to be tied to sexuality, despite the fact that society tells us it is. But I'm finally going to shut up and just show you some of these incredible pole dancers, all over the age of 50, whose answer to "Am I too old to pole dance?" is a resounding heck no. Here's Greta Pontarelli, who took up pole to try to beat osteoporosis.
When I do pole, I feel ecstatic. I feel like I'm a child playing in a playground, like weightless, effortless, and it just brings great joy to my heart. My signature move is a passe iron flag, which is a kind of a spin-off of the Iron X, and it requires a lot of core.
Here's Mary Carol Giltner, who started when she was 57.
People have preconceived ideas about what should happen as they age. They think, I'm too old. And it becomes them. It starts to take over their whole being. Age, if you allow it, gives you wisdom. Pole dancing has many genres. You can dance it as a ballerina, you can dance it as a comedian, you can dance doubles. You can dance it sexy, you can dance it flirtatious, athletic. Whatever you'd like, you can put it on the pole.
And here's Tomoko performing on Italy's Got Talent at 70 years old. Hey, in pole competitions, the masters category is anyone age 50 or above at the time of competition. There is no upper age limit, and look at that, you're a master. So we know now that there is no upper or lower age limit on pole dancing, but just like everything having to do with this sport, you will be slapped with a certain stigma depending on which part of the spectrum you fall upon. But if you're a pole dancer or involved with the pole community, I hope by now you've learned to tune out the nonsense and just be your authentic pole self. So if you want to sign your kids up for pole class, you can do that. If you're a kid who wants to sign up for pole class, how did you get here? My channel's age restricted. If you're an old person who wants to sign up for pole class, you can do that too. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go be told I'm too old to play Bradley Cooper's love interest. Bye!